Good afternoon. In the course of next 30 minutes or so, I shall be speaking on the topic International Human Resource Management. Today's topic I shall be covering in 7 parts. In first part, I shall be dwelling on IHRM An Overview. In next part, key issues of international human resource planning, followed by employee selection process, managing expatriate, common hardship factors, managing dual career couples, and finally, we'll end up with the current issues in international human resource management. Coming to the first part, IHRM An Overview, as we are aware that globalization of world market appears to be getting momentum. The last 2 decades in particular have seen dramatic changes in international trade and business. Once considered safe markets are now fierce battlegrounds where firms aggressively fight for market share against foreign and domestic competitors. In this backdrop, if we just go over the World Investment Report of 2012, it says that MNEs have employed almost 69 million workers and generated $28 trillion of sales volume, and $7 trillion they have added in value. So this is the volume of international trade we have seen as per the report of World Investment 2012. Keeping this in view, let's see what are the challenges the international business community have faced. It is in terms of how to find the trained manpower who can, regardless of their international origin, can continue in the international human resource management in 21st century too. Then next is the globalization of business, which is forcing managers to grapple with the complex issues as they seek to gain or sustain a competitive advantage. Now, with the unprecedented level of foreign competition at home and abroad, firms are beginning to recognize that finding and nurturing the human resource to implement global strategy is of critical importance. Thus, getting the right person at right time, at right place has become a very, very critical issue in terms of companies' international growth. Now, to start with, let's see, refresh our knowledge about the human resource management first, then it will be extended to its implications in international human resource management. Conventionally, as we are aware, that human resource management includes following activities. That is human resource planning, staffing, performance management, training and development, compensation and benefits, and labor relations. Now let's extend it to international and see what activities undergo changes when it is extended to international human resource management. So the model of international human resources shall be based on 3 broad dimensions. The first dimension, it is the 3 broad human resource activities. As we've just now seen, the human resource planning and recruitment selection, we can call it as procurement dimension. Then allocation in terms of training and development, performance management, this shall form part of allocation. And then utilization, finally it will be ending with the compensation management. Right. So the first dimension, having seen the procurement, now let us see the second dimension. This second dimension will be the country categories. Country categories are basically 3. 1, host country. 2, home country. 3, other country. Let's see first of all, what is the host country? Host country is where a subsidiary is located. Home country is where the firm's headquarters is located. Other country is that may be source of labor or finance. So these are the 3 type of categories we talk about when we talk about international HRM as a second dimension. To revise, first we spoke about the 3 major dimensions of the human resource management, and second about the 3 type of countries. Now let's see what is the third dimension. Third dimension is 3 type of employees. The first type of employee, we call it HCNs, humans, host country nationals, host country national, and second is PCN, parent country nationals, and third one is the third country national. Now let's see an example. IBM employs Australian citizens, so therefore they are the host country national. IBM Australia employing Australians in its subsidiary in Australia. Obviously, they are the host country nationals. Second could be that IBM is getting its expert from parent country in Australia. So that means a US citizen reporting to their subsidiary in Australia will be called PCN, means the employee is coming from the parent country of the corporate. Third could be a Singaporean employee from IBM proceeding to a Japanese for Japanese operation in Japan. So that means a person, this person is called third country national, means neither it is from the parent country nor it is from the host country. So these are the three type of employees. So we have seen the three major dimensions of international HRM. First, the major functions of IHRM, that is procurement, utilization, and the third one that is compensation. Second dimension, as we've seen, the three type of countries: host country and parent country and the other country. The third dimension, three type of employees: host country employees, parent country employee, and third country employees. Now, having seen this, now we are in the position to understand the definition of international human resource management. As Morgan says, international human resource management is defined as the interplay among these three dimensions, that is human resource activities and type of employees and type of countries, the countries wherein the operations go on. So it is an interplay. Primarily, domestic human resource management, once the dimensions increase to global level, then it is called international human resource management. Now, let's see what are the scope of IHRM. IHRM, it involves international orientation of the employee, international relocation of the employee, then administrative services to be provided to the employee in the new location. Now he is called expatriate for that matter. We'll see the definition of expatriate a little later. Then host government regulations. The expatriate has reported like an Indian reported in United States. So for him, the host government becomes United States. So what are the regulations of United States? Then language translation services, European countries such as France, maybe Germany, maybe Spain, there one would have a lot of language problem. So language translation services also need to be provided to the expatriate. And finally, the actual conduct of repatriation. So international human resource management involves these 6 activities. Now, as I promised you that I'll speak more about expatriate. Who is an expatriate? An expatriate is obviously, it is a person who is working and temporarily residing in a foreign country, who is working in a foreign country and temporarily residing over there. Many firms prefer to call such employees as international assignees also. So therefore, a worker who is working beyond his or her own national boundaries in an international firm, such employees are called expatriates. Now, let us see about the how international human resource management, the first task of human resource management, that is human resource planning. When human resource planning is extended to international human resource planning, let's see what are the important points that are to be kept in mind. First and foremost for any corporate is identify such potential early. So the first step in international human resource planning is identifying by the top management the potential employee early. Thereafter, They identify key areas that need development in such potential managers. Where all this potential manager, the would-be or future manager, what all in what all areas he or she is lacking. So those areas are to be found out, and appropriate training is to be imparted to such potential manager. Then provide him or her developmental opportunities. Means he or she shall be provided with all kind of national seminars, international conferences, international seminars, and broad discussions with the international delegations, given opportunity to discuss with various teams, domestic and abroad. So various developmental opportunities are provided to such managers. Then the such identified managers, commitment must be tracked. It should not happen that at a little later he or she gets deflected. His or her commitment gets deflected. So therefore, the entire career path of such potential employee must be tracked by the top commitment to identify whether such employees continue with their commitment or they've drifted away. So next, what we do is integrate HRP with the strategic business plan. This is a basic and fundamental job of every organization, that the own human resource planning must be aligned with the strategic business planning, corporate business planning. And now, lastly, dealing with the multiple business units while remaining focused with the global and regional strategies. This means all other tasks, such as managing strategic business units, shall remain as normal as usual, while also the top management remains focused with the potential employees earmarked for global operations. Now let us see what are the important steps in employee selection process for of expatriate. Expatriate selection karna ho, so what important point we must keep in mind? First, these are the 4 steps. First, parent unit formulates staffing plan for host MNC. Means you must work out your plan. The parent organization must work out staffing pattern for the host MNC. Little more about this I'll be speaking a little later. Then staffing orientation must be done. Whatever staff has been identified, their orientation, global orientation must be start. Then next phase will be managing these expatriates, and particularly female expatriates, they require additional attention. So therefore, these aspects need special attention. Top management must ensure. Now, as I promised that in the next phase, I shall well, little more on selection process. That is how to do the human resource planning for a global unit. This is done in 3 phases. In phase 1, set up your host unit in the foreign land. While setting up on foreign land your host unit, what you do, the senior management team is put together. Then headcount normally and geocentric approach is adopted. A question could be, why ethnocentric approach? Ethnocentric approach, because when you are staffing the host unit, then it is better you have your parent unit professional over there, because they know the expectation of the parent country organization. So ethnocentric and geocentric approach is adopted. Then this handpicked team is deployed on ground in the host country by the parent MNC. This is the first stage, wherein 5 to 20 people are earmarked by the parent country and brought into the host country, and they start planning about the business in the host country. Headcount is generally 5 to 20, and the composition of the group is generally ethnocentric and geocentric. Means the people, the employees, top employees or desired employees from the parent organization, and also geocentric means simply the best available in the globe, globally best available talent. They are handpicked and they are tasked to start business in the host country. This is a task given to them by the corporate headquarters. In part 2, phase 2, what happens when the establishing technology team to begin core operational activities means you start the business, expanding the business activities in the host country. What happens? You start recruiting because your initial strength is hardly 5 to 20. Now then you start expanding. The strength may go to 100, 200, 500 and so on. So start recruitment process, outsourcing begins. Emphasize on competency at this stage. Only competent people must be brought in because the whole host country is watching your presence on their land. How your business is going to do in next couple of months or so. Accordingly, you will find a response from the host country. And headcount at this stage normally is, it is from 220 to 200, 10-fold increase in the staff. And polycentric approach at this stage we adopt means simply anyone, everyone, whosoever is the best. And role of parent unit is now reduced because parent unit now starts planning, looking after its own organization plus many such organizations. So any support, further support, you will be getting lesser and lesser from parent country. Now, when in stage 3, when you have full-blown operation, then what happens? Your number of employees increases. In-house skill development you are planning, and vocational institutes or colleges approach, and headcount in this stage increases from 200 to 2,000, and it is simply a polycentric approach. So, and finally, a strong operational leadership is put, and unit assumes strategic role in hiring. Steeper headcount goes to 500 to 10,000 in case of such host country operation. Now, here I come to an end of second part, that is staffing. Now, part 3, I come to managing expatriates. So once the operation has begun, one of the biggest problem every parent organization finds is how to manage expatriate. Like in case of, if we talk about the, say, Tata Group. Tata Group has many MNCs spread all over the multinational multinational corporations all over the globe. So sitting here, there with their corporate headquarters in Mumbai, they are simply, their job is to manage these expatriates, means Indian professional who are working in Tata Enterprises. Of such enterprises are there. So how to manage these expatriates who are working for Tata Enterprises globally? So what happens? Towards management, the first and foremost step is the top management asks for willingness and watches for their enthusiasm for overseas assignment. You must not send anyone abroad unless the person is willing, unless the person is enthusiastic about his or her task overseas. Right. So this is the first step we look into, willingness and enthusiasm. Then you need to identify amongst them. Everyone may be willing, everyone may be enthusiastic, but who are competent people? Who are competent people who would do justice with the plan, who will be able to achieve objectives set forth by the corporate headquarters. So you need to identify such potential expats. Then must make sure that such people possess necessary skill. And then you organize their pre-departure training. Must consider their marital status. Must consider local laws on regarding work permit, and must consider the work cost factor, including compensation. Right. So more about this I'll speak a little later. Then let us see what are the criteria for international assignment. What criteria should we follow? In case of international human resource management, the criteria will be simply the best in competency. first and foremost will be technically competent person. Why technically competent person, particularly for assignment abroad? Because there is no local person available to them to advise. Here in their home country, they'll be able to get any technical support, discussion, consultation from their fellows. But once outside the country, they lack simply this comfort. They do not have anyone who, to whom they can seek for any technical support. So they have to be technically outstanding. Then relational skill. They should have knowledge of language, culture, and communication. Knowledge of language, culture, and communication enables them immediately to relate themselves with the people. Then next we have ability to cope up with the environment variable. That is, whatever environment variables are there, they should be able to correlate themselves with the environmental variables. Then next we have family situation. Family should be able to adjust in the new country. And finally, perceptual dimension, understanding of the causes of host nationals' behavior. This is very, very important. Quite often we do not understand, we fail to interpret the right intention of the host national. So we have to be well trained. The person has to be well trained about understanding the perceptual dimension of the host national. Then job factors, basic managerial skill one should always have. Motivational state, that means to face challenges in the new country, on the new soil, in the new environment. One should be highly motivated to face challenges. So these are the critical requirements. In addition, one should have interest in foreign culture, history, food, etiquette, and display of respect to foreign national, administrative skill. All these one must be equipped with. Then positive self-image. One must have positive self-image, must think high about himself or herself, should be proud of his or her own image. Then emotional stability is very, very important always and everywhere. And on foreign land, it becomes a little more important. It assumes much more significance because any kind of deviation shall get highlighted quickly in terms of the domestic, your country's status. There'll be adverse news. The journalists will be interested in picking up such news quickly and bring defame to your country. So you got to be emotionally stable, particularly while working on the foreign land. Then stable marriage is another very, very important. Stable marriage. No homesickness. One should not feel that it feels like coming home every now and then. Then the work will suffer. Political sensitivity. One should be highly sensitive to political establishment. Political establishment may be, there may be frequent comments in the media, in general, in environment about your own country. But you should consider yourself aloof from such thing and must not get dragged into any such political sensitivity towards your country or culture. Then you got to be extrovert. An introvert is a sure license for failure. Only extroverts, they succeed in international assignment. Then a very high integrity is required. Means you should be able to have your business fundamentals completely transparent. Absolutely, there is no scope of any lack of integrity in your business conduct. This is very, very essential. Otherwise, the host country intelligence agencies, they will scoop on your business and can make your life miserable. Then willingness to change. You should be willing to change, because whatever you have learned in new country, new environment, new situation, if you're facing new challenges, you should be willing to understand, analyze, accept, or you should be accustomed to change. You should not be rigid. So having completed the requirement of a person, the expatriate, Now let us see what kind of hardship. In part 4, I'll dwell upon the common hardship that they face. These hardship could be when a foreign national goes into a host country, he has problem about finding a house, climatic problem, pollution problem, diseases, sanitation, medical facilities, educational facilities, political violence and repression, socio-political environment, then crime situation, culture problems that expat finds in the new country. Now, all are self-explanatory. Therefore, I proceed on part 5. That is, what are the causes of failure of an expatriate? Why an expatriate fails? Expatriate fails if we have failed to implement job design. That means the fit between the personal requirement and the organizational requirement. If the person is not personal, if the expat's personal requirement do not go side by side with the organizational requirement, that means we have not designed the job for him or her, and therefore he or she is bound to fail in new assignment. And that involves role clarity. We must tell the expat that this is what is your role on the foreign land. We must ensure there is minimum role conflict. Means the people who are there, their role and responsibility, the person who is going to report over there, his or her role and responsibility must be clear and distinct. Then rich international experience one should be having. If one doesn't have, then there is a very strong possibility that one would fail. Then use discerning measures for selection of such employees and their companions. Discerning measures for selection of such employees means you got to keep tracking his or her interest in the land, culture, communication, history of that country, and liking, disliking, or orientation. All these things must be discerned well in advance. A person who is going to report on job to another country must not be having a hostile behavior, hostile attitude towards the country, towards the nationals. So these must be very surreptitiously observed and noted by the top management before sending the person for foreign assignment. Then educate native and foreign employees in intercultural communication competence. He or she must be well educated in case of intercultural conflict communication, and in case of any conflict must not be sent over there on the foreign land. Then must provide foreign language lessons. If one is not comfortable in foreign language, then likely to fail in the new assignment. Then provide mentor facility. Someone must be appointed as mentor on the foreign land. Otherwise, the person is likely to fail in the new assignment. Then provide all information equipment for his or her role and duties to be discharged. Then create frequent communication with the home, like he or she should be able to frequently communicate with his or her family at home, must not feel that he has been abandoned by the parent organization. Then create opportunity for social interaction with the host country members. That is, whenever any such get together or gatherings are there, one must be provided the opportunity to interact with the host country members. So this makes a stronger bond, enables him or her to make a stronger bond with the locals, and that strengthens his position. Empathy. And then finally, organizational support and spouse support must be given. Finally, PC and HCN, this is self-explanatory. Initial stages, we must give PCN, later HCN. About couples, we should be very careful when we are sending couples. Both, requirement of both must be looked into. These are some of the issues in case of hiring, or critical issues in case of training and development, or in case of performance management, or in case of compensation management, like exchange rate, etc., must be taken into account. Here I come to an end of today's discussion. Thank you. Thanks a lot.